I begin with the chicken. Today I'm using about 1 kilo of chicken thigh fillets with the bone in and the skin on, 5 big pieces. I sprinkle the pieces with some salt and some pepper, seasoning the chicken well on both sides. Then I flour each piece generously, patting the excess flour off. I put a heavy base pan on the stove and I warm it up for a few minutes, and then I add about 1/4 cup of olive oil. I wait until the olive oil becomes warm and then I put all the chicken in the pot skin side down. It doesn't matter that the chicken is snuggled closely together. I cook the chicken over a medium heat as I want the pieces to fry, not to broil. I leave the chicken for a few minutes before turning the pieces over. Sautéing the chicken, turning the pieces until all the chicken is lovely and brown in colour and crispy on the outside. This process takes about 15 minutes. When I'm satisfied that there is substantial colour on the chicken, I turn the heat down to low, cover the pot with a tight fitting lid, and I cook the chicken for about 10 more minutes. This will ensure the chicken is cooked through and produces beautiful, succulent chicken. I make a passalia, which is a French word, and I haven't pronounced it properly, but in its simplest form, it means just parsley and garlic. Similar to a gremolato, it is added almost at the end of the cooking time. So I chop 2 cloves of garlic finely, and then I chop parsley. I end up with about 2 tablespoons of chopped parsley, and then I combine the parsley and garlic and chop them both together. I finally chop 1 small onion. Next I take about 700 grams of fresh tomatoes. I slice them in half and I remove as much of the seeds as I can, and I discard the seeds. Then I roughly chop all the flesh. The recipe calls for about 100 grams of black olives. I'm using sliced black olives because that's all I had, but you could use any black olives of your choice. I also need a little wine, about 1/2 cup or 125 ml. I only had dry red wine, but usually I use dry white wine. Now for the fun part, making the sauce and putting it all together. I remove the chicken from the pan, putting it into a serving bowl, and I cover it with alfoil to keep it warm. My chicken was extra fatty, so I drained most of the fat, leaving just a couple of tablespoons in the pan. I add the onion to the pan and I stir it frequently until it begins to show some colour. I add the wine and I increase the heat to high and deglaze the pan, scraping in all the brown bits from the bottom until the wine has almost completely reduced. At this stage it looks and smells like a red wine jus. I could just eat this now, but I don't. I add the tomatoes and a little salt and I continue to cook over a high heat, stirring often until the excess liquid from the tomatoes has evaporated. Just before I turn off the heat, I add the passalia and the olives. The smell is amazing. I cook the sauce for a couple of minutes longer and then turn off the heat. I spoon the sauce all over the chicken. Some fresh basil torn over the chicken is divine, but I didn't have any today. So instead, I just sprinkled a little dry basil over the top. I usually serve this dish with rice pilaf, which is super simple, but I didn't have time today as I was filming the chicken. Anywho, we have steamed rice instead. It is super delicious and the chicken remains crunchy in parts. I love this French technique of sautéing the chicken. It's really that good. We were so hungry I didn't film me taking a sample, but believe me, we consumed it all in a very short period of time. Thanks so much for watching. See you again soon.